Hello, everybody. My name is Angelica Corral with What in the World Do You Do? What in the World Events. And today we have our wonderful Kristen Bond, our guest speaker. And we're going to start by honoring her with a special video because she had a special. Yay!
So let me make sure I'm doing this right. So I do like to interact with like comments and stuff, but I know on StreamYard we'd always see them. So I have LinkedIn also opened, but I have the volume turned off. So will I be able to see comments there?
I never check the link in. Whenever I'm on StreamYard, I
Okay.
just do StreamYard. But
Okay.
I see Barbara Morton. She said hi everyone, and Amaka says hi Angelica. Hi
Okay.
Amaka.
I'm seeing them now. Perfect.
Can you see him?
Yeah, I can see the comments in the LinkedIn, but I'm like a little bit delayed. Like,
Okay,
but,
awesome.
but that's okay. So as
Oh
long as
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
volume
yeah,
up.
yeah. Yeah, awesome. You might see some of them that I can't see, you know. But I'm really excited about this because we've been talking about this for such a long time, and I know that you have something dear to your heart, and that is helping out children and women or anybody that is um, trafficked, right?
Mhm.
But first, I want to talk about you, how you grew up, and the things that you love to do. Because in the pictures, I saw you swimming. Was that your
Mhm.
little brother in there?
Yes, that was my little brother. He's 3 years younger than me. But I've always called him my big brother. He's always been the one that kind of followed the path of, you go to school, you do good, you go to high school, you graduate, you go to college, you get a job, you get married, you have kids, you buy a house. Like he did the plan.
Hmm.
And he's always been, kind of a bit more of the responsible one. So I call him my big brother. He's amazing.
Oh my
But
goodness.
we did swim team together. So we
Uh-huh.
grew up on a lake. Our
Uh-huh.
front yard is literally a lake. And so
Yes.
we did swim team together. And so that's when you saw us when he was like this. And I got so mad at him about that picture. I was like, why did somebody behind the camera was like, smile, Jeremy. And he went like this, like that, and they like motioned to him, and I guess he thought he should do that too. And I was like, I was so mad about that picture. But we grew up together on the lake
Uh-huh.
in the country. My mom was a teacher, which is
Mhm.
really cool because she was able to be off of work the times that we were. So
Uh-huh.
basically, the lake babysat us. In the summertime,
Nice.
we would get up, we would pack lunches, we'd go out on the lake. She put life jackets on us, throw us in the lake, somewhere, and we would just hang out. And then it got to the point to where me and my brother could just go do it on our own, and we would fish and camp and build forts, and we had a lovely childhood.
That's wonderful. I think I did a lot. I was brought up by the TV. Just kidding.
We lived so far out. We used to have so we finally were able to get those real big satellites,
Uh-huh.
like to where you had to like you could literally like you change the channel and you would just watch the satellite move.
Mm.
Where we lived so far out, we couldn't get cable or anything, so we had VHS, and we had one of those laser disc things, I think, too, in the 80s.
I just have to say that you really lived a rich life growing
I
up.
did, and that's what. So and for a long time, and we'll get into this in a little bit. For a long time, I thought that I didn't have a story
Uh-huh.
because I would go to when I would go to treatment or I would go to the programs I went to for healing, and when I exited trafficking, and there would be these women, my sisters there that were trafficked at the age 4 and 5, that were trafficked by their parents, that were beaten and abused and, lack of education, just lived in abject poverty. And there was it took me almost 2 years to even be able to feel like I had a story. And I don't know, and I'm sure some people listening, there's these things called ACE scores. They are adverse childhood experiences. And it's a questionnaire. I think it's maybe 10, 12, 15 questions. And you answer them and it's like 0 to 5. And the questions are, did you have a parent that abused you? Did you have a parent that was addicted to substances? Did you have a parent that was experienced mental health, situations around you? Most trafficking victims that you talk to, their scores are anywhere between 6 and 10. I have a 0. My ACE score is 0. And that's something that I'm not like, I used to like, we would go to these retreats and go to these trainings with other survivors and we would go around and talk about our ACE scores, and mine was always a 0. And I felt bad about that. But then I started to learn, and I think God just kind of put in me, he was like, yeah, but you ended up in the same place.
Yeah.
You ended up in addiction. You ended up homeless. You ended up being trafficked. You ended up in assault, forced abortions, rape. You ended up in the exact same place. So that just goes to show you. And then that's when I started to have my voice and have my power, was to show that like trafficking, addiction does not discriminate. Mental health does not discriminate. It doesn't matter. I mean, my parents were very well off. We had, vacations and, new cars and whatever we wanted, we had, and we were very, very lucky, very blessed. And it was actually my parents, and we'll get into that later too. It was actually my parents that pulled me out of the trafficking situation, physically, literally rescued me. And so, it's just, and I believe, and I kind of preface everything that I talk about with this. I'm a woman of faith. I believe that God, saw fit to pull me out of that. And that was a gift. And with that gift for me comes a responsibility. And for me, that responsibility is to make sure that nobody ever experiences what I experienced. And that's what I've been doing since 2008.
That's awesome. That just shows what a big heart you have, girl.
My parents raised us to be in a family of service. Little things. My grandpa was a preacher. We were very heavily involved in church. So we would, little things that I saw my parents doing growing up was, like we would be in the grocery store and there would be a woman in front of us, maybe with a baby in her arm and, a kid in the cart and all these groceries, and her card wasn't working and, just having a day or whatever. And my dad would just reach up and swipe his card, or we would see something where my dad would, or my parents would kind of feel like, oh, there's something that how we can help, and they would step in and help. And so I carried that with me. And then when I started becoming an advocate and really fighting for, against injustice, all of those, like, that's my foundation.
That's wonderful.
We did soup kitchens during the holidays, all that, always doing all kinds of fundraisers for people and stuff like that. And so my parents are 100% my motto of like how to be an amazing human.
And that is amazing. That is amazing. So we have a few people that have some messages here. Yolanda says, hi, loves. Well, hi, love.
Oh, and Annie.
Annie.
Hey, Barbara.
What does Annie say? Because I can't see what he said.
He said, hey, Miss Angelica and the amazing Kristen.
How you doing, Annie? I don't know.
I just call him Mr. No TikTok.
He calls it tickety talkety, and he cracks me up.
Mr. No tickety talkety. Oh, okay. So I'm seeing. Okay, so the reason I'm seeing Annie is because he's logged in on LinkedIn, and and I have both windows open. So
okay, good. Okay. Hey, my twin. I'm glad you're checking this out.
Yeah, I love questions. Anybody wants to drop questions in the comments or comments in the comments? Like, absolutely. And if anybody's not connected with me, please connect with me.
Yes. Yolanda Christensen says, yes, 10 questions. So that's awesome. So definitely please write them down.
Probably already knows the answers to all those 10 questions. It's one of my best friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So she has an organization called Free to Fly. And because she's on here, I'm going to shout her out real quick. And I do that. I love to do that. This is a survivor-led organization. Survivor funded, survivor operated. She does multiple things. One of the things she does is she gets victims and survivors from one place to another via plane tickets. Where they have to testify against traffickers, or they need to exit trafficking, or whatever. Her organization, which is really the bank of Yolanda and her husband, it's been a very completely self-funded thing. She has some really good sponsors. But the other really cool thing she does is she sends out these care packages to survivors.
Oh, there's nothing like
And
that.
so one, I mean,
Exactly.
I've gotten multiple ones. So like one month it was like, I don't know, like $100 gift card, and then it was like really nice, like Bath and Body products, beauty products from Briotech, like really high end stuff that I'm like, oh, I mean, and if you guys have ever seen Yolanda, like she's gorgeous. So I'm like, if
Mhm.
this is stuff you're using, then yes, I want to use this stuff. But just to get something like that in the mail, just be like, hey, you're seen, you're thought of, and it's like nice stuff. It's not like somebody just went to the Dollar Tree and threw some stuff in there. It's
Mhm.
really nice stuff, and you know, she's not had survivor led organizations do not have a whole lot of luck in getting funding. So anyone that's here that's listening, if you want to go to, I think it's freetofly.org. Yolanda can put that in the chat. But I always love to really support survivor led organizations. I mean, she's made such an impact in my life.
Yes, that is awesome. Yes, Yolanda, put it in the event details, the three little dots up on the upper right. You could put your information there. We'd love for you to get that help
And
that you need.
Charles is here too. I don't know if you can see it, but Charles is here.
What
And
is
yes,
Charles saying?
Charles says, thanks for having this conversation. I haven't been trafficked, but I've been raped, abused, and alienated, and so have empathy for you. Charles is such a support, right? Like he is such an encourager. I
Mhm.
love seeing him on all the events that we're on, and he's always there for us.
Thank you, Charles, for sharing that with us and being vulnerable. We are like Barbara Morton says, thankful for healing. And this is what we're going to be talking about too, how to heal, right? So we also have Yolanda says, love you, my sis. And Harvey says, that is excellent, Dr. GPT. I love that. I love that idea. Do you have a website? Oh, okay. So she put it there,
Mhm. Oh, and
www.freetofly.org.
also any donations and support to that organization are tax deductible. So if you're a company and you have somebody that, maybe you have some bath and beauty products or something you want to throw in those boxes, that's all tax deductible. If you want to just send her organization some money, it's getting close to the end of the year when everybody's got to get those donations in. Also, if you have an employer, a lot of employers will do matching donations. So if you go to your employer and you're like, hey, I want to donate $500 to this organization, and they'll match you. So I'm like most larger like corporations and stuff do that. So maybe something to check into.
Wow, well, I guess it's time to start asking some questions, my
Oh,
friend.
real quick, one more. Josh Eckstein is here. Do you see Josh?
No, I don't see him, but tell me,
Okay.
I'm so glad you got the LinkedIn open to
Yes.
see it.
So
Yeah.
Josh Eckstein is literally my hero. Let me tell you about this guy. So
Yay.
he had contacted me several months ago and he was like, hey, I want to consult with you. I have some questions. I didn't know anything about him. And he was like, what is your consulting fee? And I was like, $100 an hour. And because I was just in a space and like somebody hadn't paid me. And I was just like, it's $100 an hour. Like I was just mad at the world right at that point. He was like, okay, I don't think I can afford that. And so I didn't respond. Then I found out what he was doing. He is, first of all, he is 17 years old.
Get out.
He is in Pennsylvania. He is
Mhm,
working like two jobs to
mhm.
fund an organization. It's called No Trafficking Today, KNOW. He also sent me some talking points, but I don't have them in front of me. So I'm just going to say what I want to say, and Josh can add anything in the chat. But he is one of those people that, like, I contacted him back and I was like, dude, I want to consult for you. I want to help you, but I don't want you to pay me any money. Like, once I found out that that's how he was supporting it, I was like, how are you getting your funding? He's like, well, I'm 17. I'm in school. And I was like, okay, wow. First of all, that's amazing.
Mhm,
And so I've been what he's doing is he's getting a lot of information in the transit systems and working with the transit systems to have
mhm.
trafficking information in like multiple different languages and resource guides. He's working with Safe House Project and he's 17.
That's amazing.
So it's
That
good to see him logged on.
yes, I'm so glad that you shouted him out. Okay.
Okay, I'll let you start.
No, I'm glad that you mentioned that because that's and we got to give props out to him. So please make sure that you follow him. Maybe you could help him out also. I just want to say when you meet somebody so young like that that's so giving, it's just huge.
It just it ignites that passion and that fire and that drive, and it's like that's what we need. It like reinvigorates me. Like once I found out that he was 17 and he was doing this on his own, I was like, forget about the consulting fee. Like I just want to help you. Like what can I do to help you? And so I'm like these are good organizations. These are not good organizations. I'm like
We
let me
gotta
just
put we gotta put him on tickety tockety.
we do. He's 17. He may have a tickety tockety. I'll let Josh answer that.
If
Josh,
anybody,
do you
if
have a
any,
ticket?
yeah, let him share it.
Yeah, and Josh, the reason we're saying tickety tockety is our friend Annie is on here and he refuses to use TikTok and he calls it tickety tockety. So, but if you have a TikTok or any of your socials, Josh, that you want to share, website, anything, and it'll be in the comments and we're happy to, talk more about it and share more about it at the end.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So, I'm thankful that you're here to share this message that we've been talking about forever, that we were going to do. And so I wanted, is it okay if I start off with your personal experience?
Yes. You
Okay.
just go. You're so good at this. You just go,
Oh,
and I'll just pop in. You're an amazing host. I mean, I love all of your shows, and I think you should be on TV. Like you should have your own talk show.
oh, I love you, girl. I love you. You're so kind. So, I know that this is probably something hard for you to talk about, and but I'm wondering, how did you find yourself in that situation that you were in, if you're comfortable sharing it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, just a couple of things, and I know you and I've talked about this, but just for anybody that's listening,
Mhm,
I believe that survivors are more than our stories, and for any survivors listening, you do not have to share your story to be a part of this movement. There are parts of my story that I do share for relevant reasons, but that was like such a long process for me to learn. Like, what can I share that would be beneficial? That's not trauma porn. That's not triggering other people. That's not re-traumatizing me, and I've actually done multiple like workshops on trauma informed storytelling.
mhm,
My mom was actually, and some people here know this, my mom was actually a professional storyteller when I was
mhm.
growing up. And so I've been
Wow.
able to take a lot that I learned from her and just kind of incorporate that. So I just want to preface it with that. So basically, just kind of the real kind of 5 minute version. I was in college.
Mhm,
I graduated when I was 17, high school when I was 17. I went to George Mason University. I was rushing for a sorority, and I was in the pre-law program. I graduated high school June 11th, and I started college June 18th.
uh-huh,
And I was ready to go. And my whole life I wanted to be an attorney.
mhm,
I love the law. It just somehow it just wraps itself around in my brain, and it just makes sense to me. And I just
mhm,
love it, and policy and legislation. And
mhm,
so I was in the pre-law program at George Mason, and I had been clean for a while. I'd had some substance issues when I was. I'm from Southwest Virginia, and
mhm,
anybody that's seen any of the documentaries about the OxyContin, when they talk about the areas where
mhm,
they just kind of flooded, that's where I lived. There
mhm,
were, it was really bad. It was extremely just, rampant, just drug infested. So at 16, 17, years old, I was hooked on oxys already. But I was able to get clean, and I went to college and I started drinking and stuff again, and found myself at a fraternity party with and at that point I remember going to the party. I remember it was my very first time I'd ever been to a frat party. I was 17. They had these like ice sculptures and had like liquor going down. I mean, it was all these, I mean, it was in like DC, so it was like really fancy, and it was
mhm,
sensory overload, and I was so excited. It was so much fun. And me and two other girls woke up the next, that's the last thing we remember. We woke up the next morning in one of the rooms of the frat house, and come to find out we had actually been given GHB,
mhm,
which is it's just a liquid. It's odorless, it's tasteless. And some people do use it to get high. Like I knew some friends that did it like intentionally,
mhm,
but I've never done that intentionally. I didn't know about it, and I ended up found out that I was pregnant.
mhm,
And again, so I had to wait till I turned 18,
mhm,
and I chose to terminate the pregnancy. One of the reasons that I chose to terminate the pregnancy was, I mean, it was a lot of reasons, and a lot of people ask me if I regret it. I regret the fact that that when they did it, whatever they did allowed me to not get pregnant anymore, and so that's what I regret. But at the time, I was on a lot of psych meds, like I was on heavy like lithium and Depakote and stuff like that, and I'd also been doing a lot of acid and mushrooms and stuff. And the doctors were like, there's probably a high chance that it's not going to be carried to term. There's going to be brain damage, because I didn't know that I was pregnant for a long time, and I was
mhm,
still doing all that, all those drugs. And so, but I terminated the pregnancy, and I didn't tell anybody. There's only one person that knew. It was the girl that actually drove me there. And, and then I went downhill. I stopped going to class. I was in
mhm,
a huge depression. I stopped eating. I mean, I just stopped getting out of my bed. I just would get out of my bed, use the bathroom. That was it. And I would just stay in my bed. And I think the college finally actually called my parents and were like, "You got to come get her. There's something wrong. She's not going to, she's not going to class. She's failing all her classes. She's not eating. She's not leaving her room. She's not taking a shower. So my parents came and got me, and they took me. And still at this point, they didn't know about the abortion because I thought they wouldn't believe me for some reason.
Mhm,
It was just but I'd actually kept, like, they gave you medicine when you left, and I
mhm,
ended up keeping one of the empty bottles. And so
mhm,
when I did decide to tell them, I don't know why I felt like I had to prove like this really happened, but I think I told them years later. But I ended up going to treatment in a city called Roanoke in Virginia, and I got out and I was like, I'm not going back to where I'm from because it's just a bunch of drugs. I want to stay clean. I
mhm.
want to get a better job. Well, I'd wanted to be a chef for a long time.
Oh, nice.
So I went to Roanoke and I got a job as the assistant to the executive chef at Hotel Roanoke, which is a really nice place. And I got a house and I was working. I was making really good money, and I was clean. But I was sort of what you hear people talk about, like a dry drunk. Like, I wasn't drinking, I wasn't taking any drugs, but
Mhm,
I was going to NA and AA meetings. But I was just like a walking, like I was just a shell of a human. Like,
mhm,
I was just, I basically failed out of everything I'd worked my entire life for.
mhm,
I'd chosen to terminate the pregnancy. I was in a huge depression. I had a major ADHD that was not being treated. And then so that was all going on. So the phrase that somebody said to me one time, they were like, "Well, you were right for the pickings because um, traffickers, they look for vulnerabilities. Excuse me.
mhm,
They look for vulnerabilities and they look for vulnerable people, whether that
mhm,
be children, whether that be just somebody just, it's like they have a sense for it. So
mhm,
at that time, I was walking to the bus stop, or I was walking to work. It
mhm,
was about 6 blocks away to walk, and it was, a block to the bus stop. And it wasn't in a great, it was a really nice house. It was actually my chef's house that I was renting, but the
mhm,
area wasn't that great. And so there was like a little corner store, and I was
mhm,
stopping to get cigarettes, and there were these three girls there,
mhm,
and they befriended me, and they would start doing little things like, at first it was like they'd bum a cigarette off of me, and then I would go in to buy some cigarettes and get some drinks and stuff for work, and then they would just pay for it. And then they would be like, "Oh, do you want to smoke a joint with us?" Whenever I went to get on the bus before I went to work. I mean, I had my chef jacket on, my book bag, I had my hair in
mhm,
pigtails, like I'm just bebopping down. Like, I definitely
mhm,
do not look like I'm out here looking for like sex work, like
mhm,
I'm.
mhm,
But and they I was extremely gullible, and they did what I would compare to what's called love bombing that cults
mhm,
do.
mhm,
It's sort of like, we're your family, you're my sister.
mhm,
And then we would go to the mall and they would just buy me all this stuff. And then I started
mhm,
smoking weed with them, and then I started drinking with them, and then they would start coming hanging out at my house, and then I would start calling into work because we would just be high, and so eventually I lost my job, which means I couldn't afford my house, and
mhm,
they were like, "You can move in with us."
mhm,
That was the House of Horrors.
mhm,
Everything that happened in that house was so terrible that the city of Roanoke actually, it was about 10 years ago,
mhm,
razed that house to the ground. That
mhm.
house no longer exists. Like, it's just an empty lot.
Wow.
But it was, there was, you know, so I went and stayed with them. And we were just getting high, and come to find out later. So when I first moved, let me back up a little bit. When I first moved in that house, these guys would drive by, and I used to compare it to that song, "Driving By, Hanging Out of My Best Friend's Ride," that TLC song, and they
Mhm,
would try to like holler at me or whatever, and I'm just, got my headphones on, like, I'm going to work, like, leave me alone, and I'm not doing this. And those guys had actually paid those girls to befriend me and groom me and bring me in and everything. So
mhm,
um, I had a lot of anger toward those girls for a long time. But once I got into the situation and once I looked back at the things that, I ended up doing, like, they were just trying to survive just like me. And
mhm,
so I moved into this house, and there it was a 5 bedroom house,
mhm,
and that's where the dope boys lived. And let's
mhm,
be very clear: the dope traffickers and the drug dealers are the human traffickers. They're one and the same. And
mhm,
so it became very much. Eventually, it was like, well, you're living here, you need to earn your keep. And so at first, I was so angelic. I was so far gone on dope. Like, I was so far gone.
mhm,
And so that was like goal, and I'm like, oh, well, if I could, I was doing, I mean, and it wasn't any one drug. It was whatever they had that week. It could be heroin, coke, crack,
Mhm.
weed,
Mhm.
pills, whatever. I used to say I was an addict of convenience, whatever was available and whatever we could get the most of or the best of. And so
Mhm.
that went on for maybe 18 months. And went in and out of jail a couple of times just for little things. And then I kind of woke up one day and I was like, what are you doing, Kristen? Like, are you doing? Like,
Mhm.
this is not your life. Like I mean, I was very high achieving growing up. I was very, captain this, captain that, letter and everything. And then all of a sudden now I'm doing like sex work and I'm like, okay, but I
Mhm.
want to leave. I want out. And so
Mhm.
I tried to leave and they were like, no. And so there were myself and three other girls ended up being held in a basement of that house with a padlock on the outside of the door for about 8 months. And it got to the point to where and we would only be let out when we could work. And then the other thing they did is a lot of dope dealers will trade drugs for food stamps. So
Uh-huh.
they would collect all these food stamps and then on holidays they would bring me out because I was a chef, remember? They would bring me out of the basement, take me to the grocery store, give me all the food stamps, and I would buy like $2,000 worth of food, and I would have to cook for all the dope boys and all their friends, and then they might I would have to sneak plates down to the girls that were in the basement. So that was wild. And so finally, I had a date one night, a date, John, whatever you want to call him, and he um, found out where he knew, like, okay, so he had like a sticker of the company that my dad worked for on his
Mhm.
car, and I was like, oh, you work for that company? And he was like, yeah. I was like, well, do you know da da da? And he was like, yeah. I was like, that's my dad. And he was like, okay, whoa. I don't. And
Mhm.
there were some other things that happened that my parents also found out where I was, but so I'm assuming that guy went back and told them, and so I don't
Mhm.
know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, they opened that basement door and yelled down. They're like, Kristen, you got to go. And I
Mhm.
was like, okay. And I was like, why? And I was like, and they were like, your dad is here. And my dad was there. And I don't know if I think there were baseball bats involved. And he had already called investigators and had them around the corner so that if they didn't let me go, they were going to call the police in. And my dad was just, they knew that my dad was just going to cause holy hell if I wasn't allowed to leave. And I
Mhm.
was really upset because I couldn't take the girls that were there with me.
Mhm.
So they had to kind of force me into the truck, and then I went to treatment straight from there. Yeah, so that's the short and the long of it.
So it sounds like you just gave us some warning signs on how people try to befriend you and then they groom you and then they make you get into a vulnerable situation so that you can't
Yeah,
pay for your house because they got you started on drugs and things like that.
yep.
And wow, so that's good to know. So anybody that can watch out for those warning signs, right? And I'm just so glad that your dad was there to help you out.
Oh
What a
yeah, my dad, and even since then, because of the work that I've done, when when you're 25 years old and you get arrested for prostitution, calling and telling your dad that as a woman, as a daughter, is the
Mhm,
hardest thing that I've ever had to do. And
mm,
he was very I think they just had no frame of reference for it for a long time, but
mhm,
my parents have never not supported me, but
mm,
they were it's I mean, I just imagine, I mean, and again, this was in 2005 when
mhm.
we didn't talk about trafficking was not a word.
Oh, yeah.
This was you're a prostitute, you're selling your sex, your body for sex, and
Mhm,
all your body for money. And so, but come to find out, it was very much exploitation. It was very much trafficking. It was
mm,
very much, a lot of victims do not self-identify as victims
mhm,
because we think because of the drugs, oh, we chose to be here. Oh, I'm here. I can leave whenever I want to, and you can't. I mean, and these traffickers know that it's a systematic, like a
mm,
breaking down of everything. Like they will break you down so you only have them to depend on. I mean, could I have called my parents at any during that 3 years? Yeah, I could have. And a couple of times my mom actually did was she would come and meet me and bring me like a Tupperware container of like hygiene products and clothes and stuff. But I didn't want to go home because hello, I'm hooked on drugs. I can't do drugs when I go home. you
Mm,
know. So
mm,
and that's what kept me there. And you know, and the untreated mental illness, and just being estranged from my family. But
mm,
if it weren't for my family, just like constantly, just like trying to pull me back, trying to pull me back, trying to pull me back, like I would, you know, be, you know, I think the police officers in one city told my mom one time, they're like, if you don't come and find her, she's going to be in somebody's trunk or a ditch somewhere. And
mm.
so because it was just it was a very dangerous, very violent situation.
Mhm.
And so yeah.
Well, you know, that just shows what a loving spirit your mom had, your family had. They never gave up.
Yeah, they still don't give up. I mean, I'm only 16 years removed from it, and you know, I still sometimes, you know, like I mean, you know, trauma is just the gift that keeps on giving. You
Mhm,
know, and I
mhm,
can have trauma responses and flip out on people, and you know, or be doing weird crap like working in my garden at 2 a.m. or you know, like just something that and my mom is so great, and they're very patient with me,
mhm,
and they've just sort of learned how to kind of deal with me, I guess.
mhm.
We've learned our lanes and how to compromise, but yeah, they're amazing.
That's wonderful. Well, that's wonderful. So, so when did you realize that you had to leave when your dad came? Was that
No,
when you
it was before that. So I was there for maybe about 6 months in this house, just getting hot, and it was fun. Like there were like private planes involved, and you know, hotel rooms, and like lots of money, and lots of like beautiful clothes, and tons of drugs and travel, and like it was fun. I
Mhm,
was 24, 25, 26 years old. It was fun for me at that
mhm,
time. And then one day, it's just like one day I woke up, and it was like I don't know if it was a conviction. I'm sure that it was a conviction that God, you know, placed on my heart, but I
mhm,
never, this is the thing though, Angelica, I
mhm,
never, ever, ever, ever was scared while I was
mhm,
there. I never felt like a victim. I
mhm,
always felt like that, okay, this is where I'm at. God has me here for a reason.
mhm,
There were a lot of situations where I should have been terrified. And like
mhm,
looking back on it now, like when I talk to my therapist, or, you know, or different therapists about it, and they're like, well, how did, you know, were you scared? I just wasn't scared. And I firmly believe, I swear I believe this, that God placed me there because and the work that I do now, it's like, I don't know how to explain this. It's like he has given me the ability and just placed some sort of like protective little bubble around my heart to
mhm,
where I can work in this work. And while I was in it, it was like I was there almost like as a job. Like I was observing and I was seeing, and I was seeing how these different networks worked, and I was seeing the coercion and
mhm,
control, and I was seeing how things happened. And it's
mhm.
almost like he put me in that situation so that I could then come out of it and now do what I do. I don't know
Wow.
if that sounds crazy, but I promise you, I feel like that. And that's what like
That's
different police officers that would talk to my parents, they're like, she's not scared of nothing. Like I mean, they like there different times, like when, for example, one of the girls that I was in the basement with, she had a baby with one of our traffickers.
mhm,
And so they had, you know, she stuck with him. And there were multiple times that he would like put a gun in her mouth. And I would just step in between him and just go off on him. And like,
mhm,
the cops would get called and everything. And they were like, you are going to die. Like somebody's going to kill you. You cannot be out here just fighting dope dealers and stuff. But
mhm.
I never was scared. And so I firmly believe that, you know, I went through what I went through, and I'm at where I'm at for a reason.
You know, I think that it sounds like you use psychology, and that's what helped you probably, I don't know, so that you could survive
Yeah.
and you were and now you have this knowledge that you can help other people. So look
Yeah.
at you, girl. I'm gonna read a few messages because,
Okay. Yeah.
people have come in and, I always like to
Oh,
hear
my
what they have
friends.
to say.
Oh my gosh, I love all these people.
You wanna read some of the stuff that they're saying?
Well, I'm seeing all the, yeah, let me look. Okay. So, oh my gosh.
I see
So,
Jill.
to go
Jill
back.
says, "Keep up the
So
great."
Jill is awesome. She has an organization called LUA, and I'm on her board. If you
Okay.
guys don't know about LUA, check them out. And Yolanda, of course. Let's see. Let's go down to um, uh, Annie
Jill
says,
said,
"Go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead. What did that go ahead. What did Danny
Annie
say?
says, question: we are never far from trafficked people. What are the signs to look out for, and how should we respond? Okay, so there, if you're talking about children, you're going to be looking for children that are not, and this, okay, so I can give you some signs and indicators, and I'm not saying that any one of these signs or indicators is a sign or indicator, but collectively taken in totality. So if you're
Mhm,
seeing kids that are inappropriately dressed. So it's wintertime and they've got on shorts and a t-shirt, or they're dirty, or they are, they look scared, they're looking down, they're not making eye contact, or if there's an adult that is constantly like holding their arm or holding their hand, like not letting them move far away from them,
Mhm.
or if you're in a healthcare situation and say you're a nurse and somebody comes into your office, and you're not able to separate that person, and they're answering questions for them, or also just out in the world, if you speak to a child or somebody speaks to a child and they have an adult answering for them, those are just some signs and indicators. And there is a lot of free trainings online, and I'm happy to send you some links. But and also Polaris has a lot of really good indicators. PolarisProject.org. That probably could explain it better than me. But when you're looking at adults, you're looking at injuries. Of course, any kind of domestic violence stuff like black eyes, broken arms, frequent injuries as well. Again, inappropriately dressed, dirty, unkempt, looking very fearful, and just being very, I can't think of the word, just being very like withdrawn. And not, and again, that's if they're with somebody. So again, not any one of those things says trafficking, but
Mhm.
in the totality of a lot of those things, put them together, and there's something going on. Excessive overdoses, abortions, and, constant medical needs, constant requests for, contraception, or, the Plan B or STD medication, stuff like that.
Mhm.
Those are, if you see somebody that's had, 10 overdoses, why have they had 10 overdoses? If you see somebody that's constantly, getting an abortion, like why are they getting all these abortions? Why are these things happening? It was called, the DHS has a campaign called Look Beneath the Surface.
Mhm.
And it's just, my colleague, Dr. Laura Lederer, says having our antenna up, and, taking more of a, finding the root causes. Like when we see something, that's just a symptom.
Mhm.
Addiction,
Mhm.
mental, all that's a symptom of something larger. And if we can get to those root causes, we have the opportunity to identify, interrupt, and intervene with trafficking. So thank you, Annie, for that question.
Thanks, Annie.
And you can go ahead, Yolanda. You want to read some? I mean, yeah, Angelica, if you want to read some.
You just saw Yolanda's name.
Yeah, I did. I know.
Jill says, "Keep up the great collaborative work, everyone. Everyone, is such a great conversation. Thank you, Jill." Cooper Gates says, "Charles Phillips, are the CCs even better? They used to insert quite a few wrong words."
Who are the CCs? That's all I'm looking back up.
Uh, I mean, tickety tockety might be inspired by walkie talkie.
That's funny.
I
Oh,
just,
so Charles says, thanks for both having the volume up and the closed captioning. Oh, well,
whoa,
Charles, I will tell you that I'm impressed if closed captioning can keep up with me.
I love you, girl. You are awesome. You are so funny. Okay, Noni says, "Hi, everyone. Hi, Noni." Jill says, "You're such a warrior, dear. And you're such an amazing mom, caring for so many.
What?
No matter how," and Yolanda says, "No matter how many times I hear your story, I always feel it so deeply. And also, thank you for the gift of sharing it. You are truly one of the amazing souls and an example for many of us in the world.
Oh,
You
thank
rock,
you.
girl."
And then
And
I see, oh, Brianna Barrasso made it. So Brianna is a new friend of mine. She has a lovely organization. Brianna,
Mhm,
please put your hummingbird stuff in there. She's the
mhm.
sweetest. I met her at a conference when I think I sent you the rally that I spoke at. Um,
Yes.
yes, so I got to speak at that rally, and then I also did a training workshop, and I met Brianna, and she was just the sweetest. And so she's doing some really cool stuff. So I really hope she puts her information in the chat. Oh,
Yes.
and Jay, Uncle Jay's here.
Jay, what does Jay have to say? Does he say
Hello,
something?
Kristen, a beautiful soul with a fire up personality. The more she shares, the more we are made aware of ways we can help. And then Jill says yes on root causes.
Yes, that is awesome. Uh, Jill says, Yolanda Christensen's well said, agreed. And Yolanda says, Lisa Cruz, yes, and most traffickers, pimps for sure fall under the spectrum.
Oh gosh, yeah, yeah, they're ridiculous. But let me just insert this, Yolanda, and I guess you guys know about it. So the people, there's people in here that know Tamia and I always say her name wrong, last name wrong, Najea. She's in Canada. She has done a series, and I'm happy to find the link where she is interviewing
Mm-hmm.
traffickers
Mm.
and finding out like why did you get into it, like what made you get into it, and it is a whole new way of looking at things. And
Mm.
not that it's to be any sort of excuse, but a lot of it is maybe an explanation, because it's literally generational and ancestral trauma that is causing
Mhm.
this. That, the way that they're brought up, the way that they're grown up, and then it also, I'm sure there's some other moral deficiencies there, but
Mhm.
it is a
Mhm.
whole different way to look at it. And I'm really interested to see the future, like research and data that comes out of, why do people that abuse, harm, are predators, neglect, why do these people do that? And if we can, and again, like root causes is such the answer to so many things. And
Mhm.
people just want to put a band-aid on stuff, but if we could really dig down and get to what's causing the problems, fix those systemic and generational ancestral trauma and problems, then we could save the world.
On that note, you just reminded me of something because Ted Bundy, remember the serial killer?
Mhm. Yeah.
He had mentioned what caused him to become that way, to become a serial killer and to
What I,
look at women.
what was it? Was it his mom or his dad? Something about no. Go ahead. You go ahead. What was it?
He was a good kid. He said he did everything good. His family was good, but he started looking at pornography and he got addicted to pornography. And so he started looking at women like objects.
Well,
But that's how he started it. And then he said when he went to prison, he said most of the males there have are exposed to it.
right. So I did. So when I did the conference that I was at last week was the National Center on Sexual Exploitation in Kosi, and it was the Coalition to End Sexploitation. It was like how basically it was about how technology can affect and can change
Mhm.
sexual exploitation, trafficking, missing. How we can change all that. And so we've just got Nicosi just got the Take It Down Act passed,
Mhm.
which is like basically like if you request for something to be taken down, it'd be taken down. But after I did my workshop, which my workshop was on, I think it was called Leading with Experience
Mhm.
Survivors at the Head of the Movement in Technology to End Sexual Exploitation. But anyways, after I got done doing that, the the Phase Alliance, which is the Elizabeth Smart Foundation, the Maloof Foundation,
Mhm.
I think is the name of it, and NCOSI, are doing some sort of documentary. And so that's like those pictures I think I posted with me, like with like the little thing. But they asked me questions about that, and so that whole thing is going to be about pornography. And what they asked the question they asked me, what I said was, with pornography, it's the other organization that was like heading that is called Fight the New Drug. So the
Mhm.
new drug is being seen as pornography, because
Mhm.
it's like a drug. It affects the same endorphins in your brain. So,
Mhm.
and the more you see it, the more, like, for example, with like violence, if
Mhm.
they've done research studies, and they've proved that if a man watches, and I'm not going to be explicit, but if a man watches porn of a man doing one thing to a woman, then the next porn that he wants to watch is that man, or a man, doing something worse to a woman, and it goes up and it goes up and it goes up, and their threshold
Mhm.
for that.
Mhm.
And then they model that, and then they go and do it in real life. And that
Mhm.
directly affects trafficking. That
Mhm.
directly affects all
Mhm.
of that. If you want to be a porn star and it's consensual and you're being treated correctly and you're getting paid correctly and it's not being seen by those who've been seen it, same thing with sex work. If you want to be a sex worker, if you're not being exploited, like I do believe, and this is just a personal opinion, I do believe that there is a space for people that are being that's where it's safeguarded, where they're safe, that want to do it. Okay, that's fine, that's their business. I will never ever try to tell people not to do what they want to do. However, when
Mhm.
exploitation begins to enter the picture, when non-consent enters the picture, when there's harm being done, that's when community members and the community needs to step in. Would I like there to be no pornography and no prostitution? Absolutely, but
Mhm.
there is going to be.
Mhm.
And so I think that we just need to make sure that we're honoring the people that have chosen that as their lifestyle, but also making sure they're safe and that they have the same access to resources that
Mm-hmm.
trafficking victims do. Because this is what has been my experience. When I went into services, um, I never would have been like, oh, I'm a trafficking victim. I didn't understand the whole concept of I'm having sex with this man. This man is paying somebody else for me, and then I'm getting a little bit of drugs.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand the whole process. I thought that I was just doing what I needed to do to get some dope. I didn't understand that there was like a whole conglomerate of people behind me that was making money, like a lot of money. And that's when I tried to leave, that they were like, no, because I was an asset to them.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing was like I was sort of like the house mom. So the three girls that were with me, um, we were allowed to ask for things like they would go to the store for us, like CVS or Walgreens or whatever, and they
Mm-hmm.
would ask us for a list, and I would give them a list. And so I got them to get me some sidewalk chalk, like bags and bags of it, because there were no windows down there. And I spent days, and I was super twacked out, but I spent days doing murals on all of the walls of sunshine and gardens and windows and animals and trees. And then I got them to get me some like little like push lights, and I put them up so it was like bright down there, and I prayed the salvation prayer with those women in that basement. And I like sort of like made sure everybody was okay. And so I was like the house mom in this way, but I was kept in a basement. And so I was an asset to them, and they weren't about to let that go.
Mm-hmm.
But pornography directly affects trafficking, and there's so much porn that kids are involved in. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's another survivor. Her name is Carissa Phelps. She has an organization called Runaway Girl. She's a survivor who put herself through law school, and she's one of the attorneys and one of my dear friends that has been taking on Pornhub for a long time. And so the work that Dawn Hawkins and Caleb, or I never say her name right, Caleb Clout White, and Carissa Phelps are doing with Pornhub is incredible, and the government and all that. So I applaud that.
Mm-hmm. And you also mentioned Linda Harlow has a way a PowerPoint on YouTube.
Well, she has a whole free training. So Linda Harlos is amazing. I call her my second mama. She has written a couple of
She's
books.
in one of the pictures in the video.
Yeah, I know. Well, so she just came here to my house. She lives
Mhm,
in Canada. We've been
mhm,
friends for a couple of years. We have been through some stuff together. And her daughter was trafficked. And
mm,
literally, like if her mom and my mom were to sit down, like everything that Linda writes in her book is like my mom could have written that book. And it was like, it's just wild how similar it was. And we
mhm,
became dear friends. And she is speaking at a TED Talk um, tomorrow, I think, in Raleigh. And if she gets is a TEDx talk, if she gets 1,000 views
mhm,
within 24 hours after they post it, then
mhm.
they send her video onto the big time real TED Talk. So
Nice.
I would love to paste that link. And if everybody can just go watch her video. So what she does is called Parenting with a Purpose, and
Uh-huh.
it's free trainings and you can attend, and it's an incredible training, and it's about what to look out for as a parent, what to do, how to respond, how to identify, how to interrupt, how to intervene, how to educate, how to keep your kids safe, and it's all age appropriate. So she's got stuff that you can talk to your 4 year olds about. For example, she has this lovely example about a hula hoop. So she says, okay, put a hula hoop down. Tell your toddler, your 4 year old, 5 year old to stand in your hula hoop. Now that hula hoop, that space, that hula hoop, that is your hula hoop. If anybody comes in your hula hoop, you can tell them no. Nobody can come in your hula hoop. You do not have to go outside of your hula hoop. That is your hula hoop, and that is your space. And if you don't want anybody inside your hula hoop, you tell them no. And if they don't listen, then you tell somebody else. That is
Mhm.
your hula hoop. Just like little, there's just tons of things like that that are really good and
I
age
love it.
appropriate.
I
Yeah.
love it. And I want to support her. I just got an idea. And let me read a few things here. Brianna says, thanks, Kristen. Hugs and kisses. Please call for a free consult. I look forward to hearing your story and facilitating healing so you can release. Brianna also says, I love Fight the New Drug. Have bunch of their shirts and go to schools to educate. Excellent. And she says, share it and I'll post it. So I think she's talking about the YouTube when she does her TEDx, right?
Yes, and I also have so Brianna, I didn't even realize this until the other day, and I think I have it in our purse. I was going to show you guys. Well, I can't show you, it's on my laptop. Brianna has an organization, it's Hummingbirds.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's yeah, what's the name of it, Brianna? I'm gonna let you leave the link. Um, but
She's
she's
got to
had
let her write it down there.
beautiful little, like a little medallion with a hummingbird on it, and I've kept it with me ever since I met her. It's
Uh-huh.
been with me in my purse, of course, until now when I need it. I was going to show it to you, but but no, it's no big deal. No, she was lovely. I love meeting her. She was so great. She's somebody that is gonna I see us becoming dear friends. And that's what I love about Survivor Leaders. Like, we don't play, like we're out here doing stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're literally boots on the ground doing stuff. And it's incredible. And it's I love seeing the tide turning more towards survivors, kind of leading the movement.
She says humming body. I posted it
Yes,
above.
humming body. Sorry.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, she's the
Okay,
sweetest.
I got an idea because you say that 1,000 people have to watch
Yes.
it's
Within
the
24 hours, they just have to watch it. Yeah.
so I have an idea. Why don't we do another one of these rooms and really get the word out, and that on that day we'll invite everybody to watch the YouTube.
We
The
can do
more
that.
people that we could do, that's just one
There,
thing, but
there's
we
a
could also everybody on here could do audio rooms on the same day.
there's a pledge, because this is the thing. If she gets 1,000 views
Hmm.
of her TEDx in Raleigh, then
Hmm.
they take her video and then they send it to the big deal TED, like
Yeah.
TED Talks. And anybody that doesn't know anything, I never knew anything about this. Like, I've always wanted to do a TED Talk. She
Uh-huh.
actually paid someone to, like, it's like a TED Talk coach basically,
Uh-huh.
that's like helps her do the videos and help her set it all up. And she gets 25 minutes and she can't have cue cards or anything. Like, she's got to memorize it, which she's done. But
Hmm.
she's put it, like, she drove all the way from Canada to Raleigh on her own dime to do this. And that's when she came and saw me Saturday. She took me out to breakfast, her
Nice.
sweet husband. But I'm looking on her page now, and I'm gonna post it in the chat. There's a thing that's got, like, it's like a pledge
Uh-huh.
that you can join. So, but anyways, I'll I'm taking a 14-hour road trip. Here it is. And don't forget to take my TEDx pledge to help me spread the word. Okay, so there's I'm posting right now
In the comments.
in the comments, and then
Awesome.
I'm gonna let you just go on. Sorry,
No,
it's
go ahead.
ADHD, dude.
Post it, and I'll keep talking while you're posting it, because we really need to spread the word. And what we can do is, everybody that's here today we could do an audio room.
Well, you know me, with my little, like, technology brain, I was like, well, can I just, like, set up some bots to do that for you? And she was like, no, it's got to be. I was like, can I just get my OSINT friends to do it? We can just do it all at once. She's like, no, it's got to be original views. You can't do that Christmas stuff. So I was like, okay. So
You are so funny, girl. But we could do it because we all have friends on here on LinkedIn
I mean, we between
and
just
on
we
Google.
probably got 6, 7, 8,000 connections.
Hmm. Hmm. Absolutely, we could do that, and we could spread the word. We could share when it's going to
Oh,
be
her
on.
training,
We can,
yeah, and I'll put her training link in the thing too. Her training is free.
oh, that's awesome,
And it's really good. It's like, I mean, it's good. It's really good. I mean, I've taken it multiple times. Um,
and it's free. That's what I
and it's,
love.
yep, yep,
That's so sweet of her.
yeah. And she's just and she's incredibly smart and she's incredibly sweet, and she's an incredible human being, and she's somebody that I call her my second mama.
Yes, that is awesome. Lisa Cruz, Brianna says, Lisa Cruz, hey, I saved your name to contact you later already. Lol. Okay, so that's a message to Lisa.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so let's get that rolling. I'm excited about that. And
Cool. I'll tell her about it.
this hour went by so fast.
Yeah, I do.
And
I could
and I
talk about this stuff for 4 more hours. It's just I can't. It's just it's so much. It's such a complex issue. You know what I mean?
well,
It's so much going
we're
on.
gonna have to do another one then.
We are.
Okay. Um, because I haven't finished all my questions.
I know.
So
We barely got into them. I'm sorry.
no, that I love it. We made it, we just let it flow. but we still stayed on target on the subject. So
Yeah.
I think it was wonderful. I really enjoyed our conversation because we need to get the word out to the kids, especially because kids are more vulnerable than
Well, and that's the thing is,
and more gullible.
if we start with children, this is the thing. If we teach children
Hmm.
to protect themselves, what is not safe, what is not good,
Hmm.
rather than just being like, oh, go to your room and play on your phone. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? And if
Yes.
we are doing things like we're using things like the Gab phones for our children's, which monitor children's, phones, and they're safe phones for children. If
Hmm.
we're doing stuff like, engaging with, like there's so many things that we can do that are easy and simple that
Hmm.
could just totally disrupt this whole thing.
Hmm.
So just being aware, and please, anybody that's not connected with me that's listening, please connect with me. I post stuff
Yes.
constantly. Please feel free to reach out if you're a survivor. Anybody. Just reach out. I'm available. I'm easy to get in touch with. I'm happy to put my email in the chat, or you can message me here. And thank you, everybody, though, for so much. Like my LinkedIn family, which like you and all the people that are here, have been
Hmm.
such a support to me
Hmm.
and are my lifeline on most days. There's
Hmm.
a lot of things that I do that, like, and I'll log on to LinkedIn and I'll join y'all's audio room just so I can just decompress and just listen and hear y'all's voice and just know that you're there. Because what we do is not easy, but people like you and Jane and Yolanda and Noni and Kenny and and Jay, just listening to y'all, being friends with y'all, um, has made such a difference in my life, and I really appreciate you.
Well, we appreciate you too, my dear. You're doing a wonderful work, and you're really making a difference in people's lives and children's lives. And we got to keep spreading the message, you
Yeah,
know. So I love you, girl, and I'm so glad
me
that you.
too.
I'm glad we got to talk and have this conversation. And we have a few more. Chris
Yeah,
Monastery says hello, everyone. God bless. Hug. He says, love Miss Angelica, Miss Kristen. We love you too. And Brianna says, you ladies are amazing. Everybody who's here is amazing. And everybody who's
Did you
listening.
see what Lisa says? I don't think you ever get through all your questions, Angelica. LOL. But this was a lovely conversation. Happy we got to know Kristen better. Hey, and if anybody wants to reach out to me and just chat or schedule a Zoom or just whatever, like again, I'm available. If you want to know how to get involved in like anti trafficking in your state, if you want to know how to contact your legislators and policymakers and and vote for certain things, I'm happy to direct you to wherever you need.
I know that we're a little bit over time, but I just want to mention I was writing something that happened to me when I was a teenager and with my sister and my friend, right? So when I started writing that, I thought, wow, we were so young and something could have really happened to us. I was my sister was 13 and I was 15 and my friend was 15. But anyways, we have a story about something that happened, and it's in this book that we're coming out with, an anthology, Rebel
Wow.
with a Cause. And so, anyways, I thought it was so perfect because right now we're talking about this. But I was just talking with one of my friends today, Christopher, and he did the repertoire theater here in San Diego. But we're having a conversation about that, and he said that when he was little, this man asked him if he wanted to ride, and he said, I just got this really creeping feeling that just told me don't do it. And but and he didn't do it. But he said this is like in the 1950s and the 1960s when nobody talked about it,
Yeah.
right? And it reminded me of what you said in 2005 or
Mhm.
2007.
Yeah.
People didn't talk about it, and it was happening, but people didn't talk about it. But I'm so glad that now people could talk about it and they could find a way to escape it,
Yeah.
right?
There's a lot of really good organizations. I will say this: there
Mhm.
are just like any nonprofits. There's good actors and there's bad actors. And I just want to call out some of the good actors real quick, and then we can close. But
Of course.
yes, um, Anchor Project and I'll put all these links in the chat.
Comment.
Anchor Project is I'm on their board. It's a 501c4 in Virginia, and we're really fighting for like policy, legislation, prevention. And also I have talking points, but I'm just gonna mention them real quick. No Trafficking Today with Josh Eckstein. Please follow him.
Okay.
Liu with Jill,
Mhm.
Legis Griffin, the Brenna Wallace International Initiative. She is another survivor. And the other thing is, we have some signal groups
Mhm.
where that I moderate one, and I have a couple others where OSINT professionals, open source intelligence, OSINT professionals come in and join, and like we vet everybody, and then
Mhm.
like different people will call in, like these missing children cases will land in my lap, or missing victim cases,
Mhm.
and we're working on developing like an actual organization, but like my guys, my guy like Larry Cameron and Goodell Levis and and Jay Hasler, Adam Zardowski, like they're my go-tos and they're awesome. And
Mhm.
but anybody that's listening to this that is an OSINT professional that wants to, or cyber intelligence that wants to kind of volunteer to help fight trafficking, please get in touch with me. I'll be happy to talk to you and maybe add you to our group. But we're really making a difference and really doing a lot of things to behind the scenes in the shadows.
Thank you, my sister. So you know what? Make sure that you put all of that in our comments,
I
please.
will. I will.
I love you,
Love you.
and and everybody else who came today, and everybody else who's going to listen on the replay, because we got to let people know on that there's a replay, and they could check it out
Absolutely.
there too. So I think we'll end for tonight, and we're just gonna have to. This is gonna have to be. We're gonna have to have a part two because we gotta finish the questions.
We do. We'll do a part two. And you want to do it next Monday?
Um, Next Monday I have another event.
Okay.
I might be able to do it later. If
Okay.
you can do it
Yep.
later.
Yeah,
we'll-
because you're in California, so like, and I'm a night owl, so that works.
Yes, Donna says I just happened upon this. Can I watch the replay? Yes, you can, Donna. And Jill says thanks so much for all that you do, and the Liluye shout out.
Yeah, I did. It took me forever to learn how to say it. So it's Liu. I used to call it Lily U, but it's Liu. And I
Oh,
think, Jill, what does it mean? It means something like the spirit, something about the spirit. I'm on the board. I should know this. Something about this. This it's an indigenous term for the freedom of spirit or something like that. I know I'm saying it wrong.
I just have to say, Kristen, what board are you not on?
So
So
I'm only I'm trying to do better. So the board I'm on Anchor Project board. I'm on Leeway board, which I've
uh-huh.
been on forever, and I love them so much. And I love Anchor Project. I'm the new board, and then the Brenna Wallace International Initiative, and that's it. That's it.
Well, that's a lot of boards, though. But
Yeah.
I'm not going to judge. I just think
Yeah.
that you're doing something. And
Yeah.
Face Robles is so happy to see you
Oh,
because
Faith. Faith is amazing. See, I wish we could just stay on here for just 2 more hours and talk to all these people.
well,
Just bring
we're
everybody up.
yeah. Next time, what we can do is let's do a room where we can have a few people in because I think I could have like 10 people on.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So I think I have that. Yeah. Let's do that because I know that there's things that like it'd be really cool because I know a lot of survivor leaders have joined like a bunch on here and like
Mhm,
just even to have them just like to be like, hey, shout out, like this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm working on,
mhm,
because supporting survivor led initiatives is the
mhm,
best way to support trafficking because if you look at the data, the organizations that are doing the work that are getting things done are all survivor led, survivor engaged. The organizations that are typically getting a lot of money and not getting anything done don't have any survivors involved. So
mm.
just, if you're donating your hard earned dollars to an organization, look at organizations like Free to Fly and We Fight Monsters and Flanders Fields and, places like that where we're like boots on the ground, doing stuff.
Mhm.
The Raven is here, like, no trafficking today. I could just go on and on. There's so many really, really good ones.
I love it. And I love that you're the person that knows the legit ones because that's what we want to support.
Yeah,
The ones that are
absolutely.
really doing the
Yeah.
work, that
Yeah.
really have the heart. All right, girl. I think this is the maybe the fourth, maybe third time that we said goodbye, but we can't because we're having such a wonderful conversation. But it isn't goodbye because we're gonna do another one.
I'll see you later.
Okay. I'll see you later. Love you.
All right.
Bye.
Love you too. Thank you, everyone, so much. This was amazing.
Yes. Thank you everybody for coming. We
Bye.
appreciate all of you for that. You guys We couldn't do it without you guys. So
Oh, I
I'm
couldn't do this work without any of you guys. Like you guys, every single person that's on here, that I see are such a support to me. And I mean, I can't. It's about community, right? It's about
yes.
community. So thank you guys so much.
Yay.
Bye.
Bye bye. Love you all.